What a day to be a college football fan. Let's talk about it. What up, though, family? We are back with another Old Head Sports Talk, and I am your esteemed host, OldManOnDaStix. And we talking college football results because, you know, it went down on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. But let's get into that. But before we do, man, if you have not, hit the like button for me because it helps me out in the algorithm. Also, if you are not subscribed and you enjoy the content, then go on ahead and hit that subscribe button one time for the one time and help your unk out. Man, now let's get it cracking. First things first, you know who we going to talk about. We talking about Miami versus Ohio State. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. When I say belt to butt, man, somebody got cooked. Either way, though, it was a good game. If you watch that game, Miami was about business, period, point blank. They came out smoking. They knew what they needed to do, and they jumped on Ohio State early, and they did not let up. Now, Ohio State made it a game, as we all seen. But initially in that first half, being down 14-0, it's a little different. And the one thing I said was going to be an issue was Ryan Day doing the play calling, because I knew for a fact he was not going to want to run that peel like he needed to, and he was going to try to do what? Try to throw the ball around a lot and try to have a dynamic offense that he's used to having. And at that point in time, that's what hurt him the most, because you playing against a very efficient offense and an elite, speedy defense that was laying the lumber. I'm talking about them boys was hitting out there, right? So when you check it out, third down efficiency was what was key in this game. And Miami was 7 for 14, which was 50%. Nothing crazy, but definitely effective. And then you had Ohio State at 30%, which was 3 from 10. You're not going to win if you can't win on third downs, right? And like I said, with that play calling them going down, that kind of hurt them to come out 14-0. But they got the ball back, scored, made it 14-14. And from that point forward, they did what they needed to do. Kick a field goal, make it 17-7. And then Ohio State scored again, made it 17-14. But from that point forward, they couldn't get anything going. And I said it. If you can't get anything on the ground, that was going to be a problem. And what did Miami do on the ground? They ran for 153 yards. Meanwhile, Ohio State only had 45 yards on the ground. You're not going to beat a team like that if you cannot run the ball. That's the most important thing to have a complete team. You got to be able to win at all phases. If you can't run the ball, then that puts pressure on your passing offense. And the issue you're going to have there is, if you didn't know, Miami has 2 elite first-round DNs, and them boys was eating. They had Julian Saint out there seeing ghosts, boy. And I'm telling you, he was seeing some things. And that's why he threw 2 interceptions, man. So, look, that was crazy. That was a good game, though. Great job for Miami. They went ahead and pulled off the upset. Miami is a scary team. And I know we all thought Miami didn't belong, and they was trying to figure it out between Notre Dame and Miami. But Miami is proving a point right now. They knocked out somebody that y'all respect. And in the same token, even though they played Texas A&M, I know people didn't think that they were going to beat. It was like, Texas A&M, this, that, and the third. They were still ranked higher than Miami. So now Miami then took down 2 teams, and they're on their way to the semifinals. So that's great on them, man. So shout out to the Canes. That was a big win. Now we got to go against the next game. New Year's Day, 12 p.m. for those on Eastern Standard Time. We was excited. We was like, we got football. Boy, oh boy, we had something. I don't know if you want to call it football, but we had a massacre. When Oregon 23, Texas Tech, goose egg, donut, didn't show up. That's exactly what happened out there. Man, I'm talking about Oregon looked phenomenal on defense. Offense, they stuttered a little bit. Really, this score could have been a lot worse than what we seen, because the offense had so many chances. The defense set them up to have so many chances to score, but the offense couldn't get it done, right? And I think that's going to hurt them in the long run if they can't execute at a high level, especially with their next opponent. But we talking about this opponent. It didn't hurt them here, period, point blank. The Oregon defense put on a masterclass. Everybody talking about Texas and Texas Tech, how dynamic that offense is. That defense is for real. I got to give them that. Their defense is for real, but that offense couldn't get anything going. And since they couldn't get anything going, it went right in Oregon's favor. Like, literally, none of these teams were good on third down. They both were horrendous. Like, they couldn't get nothing going. So what really helped Oregon was their defense putting them in position to score. because that's how they did it. Texas Tech defense was playing very well, but you can't have that defense out there all that whole time playing them type of snaps consistently over and over. They're going to bend a little, and that's exactly what happened. And so it put Oregon in the position to score, especially with that turnover, that weird sack interception that he caught, and old DJ's brother. I can't say the last name. I ain't going to try, but you know who I'm talking about. The young man tried to get it in there, but he got stopped. But either way, that led to a easy run score for Oregon, which put them up and they stayed up. So that game was cool. 23-0. Shout out to the Ducks, man. They going forward to the semifinals. And boy, let's talk about Alabama. Oh my God, Alabama versus Indiana. Alabama 3. Alabama 3. And I ain't talking about basketball because they wasn't going from deep. Alabama 3. Indiana 38. I told anybody who would listen, if Alabama cannot run the ball, this was going to be a long day. And you know what happened? Alabama could not run the ball. A whole game, they came out with a whopping 23 yards. You're not going to beat Indiana with 23 yards on the ground. I'm telling you right now, there's no way you beat any team with 23 yards on the ground unless it's a G5 team, period, point blank. Indiana is playing Big Ten style football. They're fighting in a phone booth. Like, that's just what it is. And it's going to be a physical, grueling game. And everybody thought, Indiana going to get out physical. They ain't seen nobody like Alabama. Alabama is the SEC, one of the best teams in the SEC. It was a lot of glazing going on. And what happened? Belt to butt, boy, oh boy. Indiana didn't care nothing about none of that. And as you can see, they dominated at all phases. Ty Simpson trying to run out here and do what he trying to do. Messed around and almost cracked the back of his neck. Man, I don't know why he didn't get down. The way he turned, he should have just got down. That's all you had to do. Live to fight another down. But them extra yards you was trying to get, my man went on ahead and put a super hit on you and hit that hit stick button, and then you was out for the rest of the game. That's exactly what happened. And you fumbled, which was a crucial turnover, and then it led to Indiana doing what they do best, running the clock and scoring. And that's just what it was. Time of possession was crazy for Indiana, and they just kept everything under control. And you got to understand, they only held that offense to 193 yards total. Now, I know what you're going to say. Hey, well, Simpson was out at the he only ran one series in the second half. That's on him. He should have knew better. I ain't going to lie to you. That backup was his name, Austin Mack. He looked way better than Ty Simpson, to be honest. But I'm pretty sure Ty Simpson is coming back to another year. So by him coming back, that young man probably won't be able to play next year. He definitely should. He looked good. He just looked like he needs more time underneath that center to be able to understand what he's seeing. But he was making some smart reads. He had some zip on the ball. So that 6'6", 225, 230, he looked very promising. That's what I say. But just being honest, we gotta have a conversation because, you know, we was hearing a whole bunch of SEC talk about how they're levels above all these other conferences. And I'm talking about levels above, and I pretty much know that Big Ten matched up with SEC a lot in these bowl games, and I think we only dropped one game. Past that, Big Ten won them all. So, hey, I'm not saying the Big Ten is better than the SEC, but I am saying you got to respect the Big Ten like you do the SEC, because clearly a 38-3 win with a team that y'all consider, y'all was arguing, even if they lose in the SEC championship game, they still deserve to be in the playoffs. And yeah, they beat another SEC team to get to the quarterfinal. But boy, oh boy, when they played against somebody that was not playing the radio with them, you seen what happened. And that's the number one team in the Big Ten, and they got smoked. So with that being said, that was that score. Shout out to the Hoosiers, man. Great job. I know y'all hyped because, man, I ain't gonna lie to you, man. When Signetti did that, Hoosiers, boy, that had me crying laughing. That man is different. He off in a certain way, but he good at what he do. Now, let's talk about the most important game of the day. And it came by 8 o'clock at night, and I was wrong. I'm gonna call myself out. I just knew Georgia was gonna run away with this one. Boy, oh boy, was I wrong. You got Ole Miss 39 versus Georgia 34. That game there, listen, from the jump, it was good. It was 0-0 at the first quarter. I'm like, okay, a little defense, but I was just waiting for Georgia to break out of there. And in certain instances, they did, but the problem with Georgia was they couldn't third downs. They couldn't convert. their third downs, they were doing terrible on third down. They were 3 for 13 that whole game. He just couldn't get it. And then there was one fourth down call that Kirby, I listen, man, I love you like a play cousin, but that one you should have punted the ball, because when y'all turn that ball over, you don't want to put the number 2 offense in the nation in short field. And they did exactly what they were supposed to do. They got a touchdown. Now look, you want to talk about lights out? Trinidad Chambliss and Harris Wallace the third. Hey, boy, them two there, that is a connection that you got to deal with. Them boys are problems, and they cooked all night. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. This Chambliss kid, listen, man, he looks for real. And obviously, they was talking about him winning Division II championships down there with Ferris State. But regardless of the fact, he is as advertised. This Ole Miss team looks for real. Now, will they be able to do what they did against Miami? We're going to have to see who shows up on that game. But against Georgia, it seemed like Georgia just didn't have an answer. And the one thing that you see in that game is Ole Miss made them cover the whole field. They had a good run game with Lacey only being 2 yards shy of a 100-yard game, and he had 2 tutties. So they was toting the rock, and they was passing that at will. And it seemed like Georgia had some issues at the secondary. They weren't good in depth. So when a couple guys went down, it kind of left them exposed. And that targeting call was kind of weird to me. I don't see that as targeting. I get the rule, but in the same token, I think that's so weird, because you're trying to tell somebody to adjust within milliseconds because a person's getting dragged down in a different manner. And so now he becomes defenseless, but in the same token, I've already committed to the tackle. A lot of those things are kind of hard to stop. I'd rather them just make it a penalty and a 15-yard penalty, and if you do it again, then you get ejected. But it's just weird to lose key players in certain moments, because you're trying to make an adjustment within milliseconds. Like the game's moving too fast for me to be able to change my body at the end of the day. Because if you watch him, he still tried to lean to the side and lead with his shoulder, but at the end of the day, it was still in the mask of the defender, of the receiver, and so that's why he got the targeting call. So I kind of hate that, and I hope they revisit that and can change that. But it doesn't seem like it, because we've been saying that they need to do something about it for the last couple of seasons, and they still haven't. But hopefully they do. But Ole Miss, you can tell, the way that they played, they wanted this game more. They just did. And I could see where Kirby was getting nervous, because he started to see that his defense could not stop that offense. And I think that's where a lot of his play calling changed, because he was trying to keep his offense on the field compared to putting his defense back out there. Because you just seen Chambliss just had the number. He knew what it was. He was dialing it up. Even with Wallace being one-on-one with their best DB, Wallace still cooked, and that was a beautiful pass to get right over that defender to get there. So it was a lot of things going within their way, and that's why Ole Miss came out the victors, man. It was a great game, definitely entertaining to watch. It was better than the other games we've seen today. I can promise you that. So just want to say shout out to Ole Miss, man. Congratulations to that, man. Y'all did a great job, and they move forward to play Miami. That is going to be an interesting game, because you got a speedy defense, and I do mean speedy and physical, and going to get after you against a very, very talented offense. This is what dreams are made of. I can't wait to see that matchup next week. I think it's going to be crazy. In Oregon, Indiana, I think this is going to be another crazy matchup. I think now we're going to have 2 great games, and I don't see anybody getting blown out. I see these games coming down to the last possession, coming down to the wire. I don't think anyone should be above a 6-point favorite, just being honest. I see maybe 2.5 Indiana, maybe 3, and I say 2.5, maybe 3 for Ole Miss, if we want to talk about favorites. But past that, I don't see anything else being different, but I do think we're going to have some great games, and I hope I'm right, because we need to see some good football. But with that being said, man, if you think I am right or wrong in my assessment, or you seen some things that I did not cover, man, hit me in the comments below. Let me know what you think about them games that we seen, because it was some crazy work. And also let me know about what you think going to happen with the games to come, because you know I got that coming on Wednesday. Definitely on Wednesday, 9:30, we're going to talk about it. But until then, I appreciate every single person. And if you have not, help a young out one time for the one time and hit that subscribe button, because I need it, and smash the like button, because it gets this to people like yourself, and it helps the channel grow, and it costs you nothing. So I do appreciate it. And we're going to end this video like we end every single one, because without the good Lord himself, there would be no us. And if ain't no one told you that they love you today, just know that Jesus loves you, man. Peace and love, and I'm going to catch you on the next one.